who I've seen in a long time, who doesn't have that like black and white area of either strikeout or a home run, not a ton of gray. He will make a lot more contact than Sexton did. If we're going way back in terms of first baseman, Russell Branyan. Really, we have not had a high quality first baseman since John Olerud back like before you guys even like shattered the curse. So that's how far back that I have to go. And it's just really, so he is lighting it up. He has pop too. Yet I think having a lot of pop is a must for a first baseman because it's probably the least skilled infield position in terms of, and when you're a first baseman, you're expected to have that build of really tall and just really haunchy. You are a big boy, and he is doing that. And what is amazing, guys, is that really our hot streak is happening with Robbie Cano out. So out until August. So I am really excited. We all are, and I think really just the main thing is that the Mariners have got to believe in themselves because all of us fans do. I do. My friends and family do. But they have to, and I think they can take the Stros. Their starting keeps quote overachieving, which they are. So yeah, it is a big deal. So yeah.
How did you how shocked were you when the Cano suspension came down?
I was really stunned. I was beyond, because he just seemed really modest, and I'm just going to go physical build here. Unlike a Barry Bonds, where he clearly went from really tall and lanky to he had just been inflated. When I had seen him play as a Yankee, and his body building up, it seemed like a humble buildup. It didn't seem like it came out of nowhere, him getting big. But I am really disappointed, especially because he is under a 10-year deal right now. He's in his 6th year, I believe, and he's just, he was paid all this dough to be a Mariner and to help us out. And I think really, from a fan's perspective, I feel kind of let down. No, I do feel let down. He won't be back till August. He had a really hot start for the season, but now you are left wondering, it's probably because of the roids. And now, in terms of Yankees fans, you can't trust that any of his success since his rookie year back in 2005 is honest. So now he's probably offended and hurt Yankees fans, which I'm sure you guys love to hear, but it's
yeah. I love it. Teixeira came out and kind of said he wasn't shocked about that, which kind of goes to show you what type of attitude Cano had, maybe what he was doing with the Yankees. And that's a really big contract you guys got with him. He's under a contract till he's 40 at $24 million a year, and he's got a full no trade clause in it too. So you're pretty much stuck with him at this point. And it worked out that he did break his wrist, because at least it would have sucked even worse to have him come back in August missing 80 games, then break his wrist again. Then. So that works out a little bit, but yeah, it definitely hurts the morale, I guess, when a player gets tagged for PEDs and he's a big time player in your team. But do you think when he comes back that he's going to be effective and that he's going to be playing, or do you think that he's going to be kind of slowly moved in, or are they just going to throw him in first day? He's at second, T. Gordon back in center field, and right back to normal.
Yeah, that is a good question. So a recent source said a few days ago that D and Cano are going to be sharing second base time, which that seems to me, yeah, and it kind of seems to me like Jerry DiPoto's way of a father putting his son into a timeout for bad behavior. You have to share it, son. But I think what I actually do think, small part of me thinks that just like Melky a few years back, that they should have shut down Cano for the whole season, because it's a big tease now to the team and to fans that, hey, you are going to come back in August. but if we make the playoffs, sayonara. So I just think that they should have shut him down for the whole year, and then we see him back in uniform in 2019. But more importantly, I just think I do feel bad for him in that he has totally tarnished his rep. Similar again to Bonds, I think he is now going to get booed by not just Yankees fans for leaving, but by all the other 29 fans. In terms of Mariners fans, I think we'll still cheer for him, but it's very tainted now. And I personally just don't trust him, and he, what he's shown in that he is not a team player. And that's a shame because, as I stated previously, he was tearing it up to start this year before his wrist injury. But so I am very disappointed. But I do agree with DePoto that he'll be sharing time with D. D has earned second base. And I think also what a lot of people are downplaying is that being a quicker player, D is, he is more going to be able to make those leaping catches. I'm not saying Robbie's a bad second baseman. He's not. He makes it look effortless, but he is just, he's not as slow. He's not as fast as Gordon is. So I think you for sure want that for a second baseman. The other day, D robbed one of the Angels hitters of a hit, but he timed it perfectly, and his leap, that it took a guy with his speed to make. So I fully agree in terms of DePoto having him in, having the two of them platoon, and I think, but I am very sad as a fan, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of other Mariner fans.
To build on what Dave was saying with Mark Teixeira, and when Cano was a Yankee, his two best friends on the team was A-Rod and Melky Cabrera, and they both went on to get suspended as well. Melky actually failed a test, much like Cano did, and then A-Rod, never failed, but records were uncovered and whatnot. And so you just had to wonder, and it's just surprising to me that he's already got his big contract. He's about halfway through that deal already, and he doesn't really have a reason to do it, because it's not like he's going to re-up for another mega deal after this. So it was kind of surprising to me that he got hit at this stage of his career and was willing to basically, like you have said a couple of times, just kind of flush everything that he's done down the toilet, and fail. It's just absolutely stunning to me. You see a lot of guys trying to come back from injuries or just a couple of bad years, and those guys tend to fail for steroids. And then you have prospects that aren't quite getting over the hump, so they'll, in the minors, they'll do steroids. Unfortunately, one of our top prospects, Michael Chavis, tested positive for a PED, and so that's a huge bummer for us. But he was basically in AAA and could have had a call up basically any time now if he was hitting well. So
he was hitting home runs left and right all of a sudden, so it makes sense about his steroids.
Yeah, exactly. Like a little over a year ago, we were wondering if he was a bust, and then he explodes and has a breakout year, and then he was killing it in the Arizona Fall League this past fall as well. So, but going back to Cano, like him testing positive doesn't fit the norm of everybody else that typically does, because like I said, he's already got his big deal, and what's the general vibe? I mean, you say you're disappointed, but how do the people of Seattle feel? And do they think he's even guilty of it to begin with? Because he did have a semi-genuine, statement or whatnot, and sounded like he had a good excuse. I personally don't believe him. Going back to the stuff we just covered with Teixeira, but how does Seattle feel?
I mean, Seattle, we are bummed. I mean, he's, when, he's a slugger. he's he is one of our hitters who opposing pitchers fear. So from an opponent standpoint, now really the only feared bat in that lineup, I mean, like perennially, is Nelson Cruz. So, he had his best year as a Mariner, Cano did, back in 2016. And I just think, I mean, it's just really shocking. I would say that's a big vibe. It is shocking. And, it was so sudden, because it was in the midst of an injury that he had anyway. So, it's just a really big shock. And, this is kind of an extreme comparison, but if we make the playoffs, I'm kind of going to compare it to Carson Wentz going down for the Eagles. And that is very extreme because it is a quarterback versus, one of 9 starters on a team. But, just in terms of, once again, opponents fearing him, and he was kind of our team glue. So I'm just really shocked, and I know a lot of others are. It's how sudden it was. It's just and the team, and the team was already hot before he got before the news came out. So and also I feel like a lot of Seattle feels like it's kind of beating a dead horse in that he was already injured. So, or no, it is kind of feeding the fire. The fire was him already being injured for some time, but now what has fed it is, it is now a double dose. It's not now, along with the injury, we find out that he's a cheater. Yeah, and that was really disappointing and really shocking. And when he comes back, I know that he'll get cheers, but I think those cheers will have a few question marks on them. And just really, he's, he for sure ruined his rep. And so, it is more shocking. I think that's a better adjective, but
that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, the one good thing is that, you'll see, I think a big thing is with Cano, you'll see if he was on steroids his whole career when he comes back off an injury, and he'll be tested obviously more. And if he comes out next year and bats 250 and hits like 15 home runs, that's going to be a big indicator of, okay, so this guy's been juicing for a while. But if he comes back and bats modest, and you could say, all right, maybe he just got those years, the 39 home runs, the 35s, that was maybe juice, but, the guy's still a good ball player. And you might see a little bit in the middle of that. But for Mariners fans, at least from an outside looking in, at least you have your team that is performing not only well now, but kind of set for the next, 4 or 5 years really well. You have your first baseman, your second baseman, your third baseman, your shortstop. You have one of your outfielders in D. Gordon, and actually 2 in Hagner, and a couple starters locked up either long-term or under team control arbitration for the next 3 or 4 years. So you got to be happy with how your GM has set things up for the future, because it looks really good right now.
Yeah, it for sure does. This is really exciting, and even he's an interesting story to Poto, because this wouldn't be the first time that he's built up a stacked team, but this is the first, I think, stacked team of his going back to the Angels, where they are achieving versus underachieving, because get to the playoffs. Right. Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that we have a long way to go here in the Emerald City, especially with these upcoming tough series against you guys, the Yanks. But he has built a really great team, and to credit his predecessors, Zarenzik, Nelson Cruz, he was not Dipoto's baby, he was Jack Zarenzik's. So, but around Nelly now, you are right. Jerry Dipoto, he has done a great job, and and I think what past GMs did was that they acquired guys who were questionable, or who never really achieved on their past team. But Segura, he's had a good start to his career. D. Gordon, he has been an all-star before he became a Mariner. So you like kind of know the track record.